Welcome to the video, my precious princesses, my wonderful knights, and fabulous beings. Today I will be reading a My Hero Academia fanfiction called Sleepy by Totoholic. If you care to read this, I shall leave a link in the description below. It's all your fucking fault! My voice rang out loud and clear in the forest clearing, and from the sudden rustling in the trees I could tell that I had scared away some birds. Normally, I would have felt bad, but I was furious right now. Livid, even. I was in the worst possible situation right now. I was stuck in a forest, alone, with Dabi. In response to my anger, my scarred companion merely smirked and leaned against the rotting tree, his thumbs hooked in his pockets of his dark jeans. Babe, calm down. Besides, it's not my fault anyway. Shut up! I seethed at Dabi, anger bubbling up inside of me. It was threatening to burst out completely, and I had to hold myself back from jumping at Dabi and straight up murdering him. The thing is, I hate Dabi. I've always hated him since I joined the League. I hate how flirty he is, and how nonchalant he can be, even in the worst situations. He's annoying, and everything he does pisses me off. So when we're now alone in the middle of nowhere, all my frustration spills out. How did we end up here in the first place? I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it's all Dabi's fault. I mean, he always ends up doing the stupidest things. He's an idiot. Scarred hands suddenly grab my shoulders, and I'm thrown out of my thoughts. I look up at Dabi, who is looking down at me frustratedly. I attempt to turn away from the male, but his grip on my shoulders was iron tight. The flame wielder then speaks, undertones of impatience curling around his words. Listen, babe, I'm not exactly sure how we ended up here either, but I think Warp Man might have teleported us here. Remember, there was a break-in at the base, so he must have split us up to keep the heroes from finding us easily. At his words, I relaxed a bit, my facial features softening. Though I hated to admit it, Dabi was right. Heroes had broken into the base, and the memory of Kurogiri quickly expanding his dark warps to consume the League came back to me. Unfortunately, with these memories, I was reminded that I had passed out as soon as I was teleported. I was weak. Seeing that I had finally calmed down, Dabi released my shoulders and sighed, a scarred hand coming up to ruffle his dark hair. His icy eyes closed, and he seemed annoyed as he complained. Damn! How'd I get stuck with someone like you? You're such a feisty little thing. My anger immediately came back to me with those words, and I flung myself at him. I grabbed the collar of his jacket and hissed at him, hating how smug he looked. Care to repeat that, Patchface? Yep, this is what I was talking about, Dabi said snarkily before he pushed my hands off his collar, a hand lighting up with his quirk. His littered eyes met my eyes, and I couldn't help but get a shiver down my spine at the intense gaze. There was an unspoken warning in those swirling blue depths, a warning to cut out what I was doing, or bad things would happen. Knowing that Dabi wouldn't hesitate to reduce me to a pile of ashes, I stepped back, my heart pounding fiercely against my ribcage. Fine, Dabi, I said begrudgingly, and the flames on the male's hand died out. Dabi smiled. That's what I thought. The next few hours of the day were spent trying to find a place to camp, since the two of us knew that night was falling quickly. If we didn't find a place soon, we'd have to sleep in an insecure area where we'd be exposed to all sorts of creatures that lurked in the area. I was trudging through the thick undergrowth with Dabi trailing behind me when I suddenly stumbled upon some sort of cave carved out in the side of a small hill. It seemed like a good place to set up camp, but I wasn't sure if there was anything inside. When Dabi finally caught up to me, I turned to him, pointing a thumb toward the cave entrance. Hey, could you check this out? It may be a potential place to sleep for the night. Dabi nodded as he walked past me, flames wreathing his arms as he activated his quirk. His eyes searched the darkness for a bit before he spoke. There's nothing dangerous I can see. The floor's stone, though. We might have to pad the ground with some plants if we're going to sleep in here. Yeah, I know that, I said irritably, suddenly plagued with annoyance that I had to rely on Dabi for help. The male hummed in response, ignoring my tone of voice, though I could tell he was a little annoyed with me as well. "Well, I'm gonna go set out for some wood. We'll need some fire." He walked back into the forest, and I sighed, clenching my fist at my sides as I stared at the ground. After a few moments, I began alone. I ground my teeth and went to find some leaves. It was dark out now, and Dabi had long since returned with the sticks. We were now sitting on some flat stones around a vivid blue fire that he had produced with his quirk. I stared at the flames in silence. The sight of the flames lolling over wood was making me a little sleepy, so I yawned. Of course, this caught the attention of Dabi, who smirked, his chin resting on the palm of his hand. "Aw, is the little baby sleepy?" "Shut up!" I managed through my yawn, and he chuckled softly, the sound of his laughter and scratchy rumble in his throat. When I finally decided to meet his lidded gaze, I suddenly noticed that his eyes were the same shade of blue as his flames. Dabi then spoke, his eyes alight with the mischief. "No, I'm just teasing you. You know, you're pretty fun to tease." I stayed silent, my gaze dropping from his, and my head drooped slightly to the side. I was tottering on the edge of sleep. I tried to stay awake in an attempt to not seem like some sort of weakling in front of Dabi, but I realized that my resistance was futile. Sleep wanted to take me, right now. My head leaned to the side completely, and I was surprised to feel my cheek meet contact with rough fabric. The smell of smoke filled my senses, and I immediately knew it was Dabi. He had slid to my side to support me, with his warm body now pressed flush against mine. I wanted to protest, to get him to stay away from me, but I was too tired. I closed my eyes and fell asleep. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed your time here, please be sure to like the video. If you would care to hear more, please consider subscribing. Farewell for now, my loves.